Good morning, everyone. So there was a little 9-year-old girl who was at church with her mother. And while she was in church, she started to feel sick. Her stomach was turning. And she looked up and she said, "Mommy, can we go? I don't feel good." Mother looks like, "No." "But Ma, I don't feel good. I really think I got to throw up." The little girl says, and Mom says, "Well, look, then just go out the front door, run around the back of the church, and throw up behind the bush, but we're not going nowhere." About 2 minutes, the little girl comes back to her seat, and the mama's like, "You okay? Did you throw up?" The little girl says, "Yeah, I did. Feel better now." She said, "Well, how could you have gone all the way to the back of the church, to the bush, and got back here so fast?" The girl looked at her and said, "Mom, I didn't have to go out the church. They had a box right next to the front door that said, 'For the sick.'" Often, what we tend to think is that people don't have the ability to solve their own issues. Often we think that there is a right or a wrong way for problems to be solved. But the truth of the matter is that everyone has an innate and unique ability to solve the problems in their own life, even if it's not the way you would have done it. Today I want to talk about the idea of empowerment versus dependency. Now, I know this is an interesting perspective with the trajectory we've been on, but today we want to talk a little bit about diversity. And diversity is much more than race, much more than gender, much more than culture. It also talks about diversity of thought. And today we want to really think about what it looks like for people to disagree with me. Somebody in this room, hopefully, last night on Twitter put an amazing statement up. "I hate when people, when I disagree with people about the Bible, and the whole time I got to argue with them because my view is wrong." I was like, ooh, praise the Lord. That was amazing. Because often what we have is right and wrong, not different or diverse. And so what we want to talk about today is what it means to be a presently powerful people. Everybody in the room is powerful because everybody in the room was created in the image of God. The Imago Dei is one of the most important factors in Christianity. We are all created in the image of God. That is what Genesis tells us, his image and his likeness. Every single one of us, every person you walk past, every person that does damage to your car. Yeah, I'm with you, sis, hang in there. But everyone is created in the image of God. The problem is that we mar the image. But if we are all created in the image of God, then we all are created with a unique power. A power that only comes from our image, which is the image of the Almighty. So empowering people to meet needs. A lot of you talked to me last night about your heart for mission, and you felt God was leading you into the mission field, and I am just ecstatic about that. There will always be a need for more missionaries. But I also heard a lot of you say, "I can't wait to go because I want to change this, and I want to change that, and I want to build this, and I want to do that." And that's when I wanted to go, hold up, wait a minute, pump your brakes. Because a real missionary recognizes that their purpose for going wherever God sends them is to be an agent of empowerment so that the people who are already there, when everything's done, will say, "Man, we did a good job." Not thank God that God sent this missionary that's only been here for 4 or 5 years to come and fix everything. Empowerment is a key element to understanding what real missions looks like. How do we ensure that people are able to help themselves after you have come to help? See, oftentimes, especially in Christian ministry, and particularly in lower income communities, that's why I can talk about this, all we do is create dependency so we can feel good about ourselves. I had a pastor tell me Pastor Jay, I just want you to thank God with me. We are serving over 3,000 families every week with our food pantry. Ain't God good? I said, no. He was like, excuse me? I said, when the number starts to go down and you're only serving about 300 people, then I'll celebrate with you. Because what we're celebrating is the fact that these people need us to be fed. How about we celebrate the fact that they're able to get a job, do the things they need, and take care of themselves the way God created us in the first place? But see, what we like is to get a pat on our backs for being able to take care of other people when they can take care of themselves. But that feels good. It doesn't feel as good for you to have your numbers going down at your food pantry. But we are a presently powerful people. Everyone is created in a unique way to take care of themselves and to handle the situations in their lives. It's very important that we recognize it. So, how many of you have ever heard of the golden rule? Right? Let's all say it. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Everybody heard it, right? Simple rule. Well, I got an iron rule. I want you to memorize the iron rule just as well as you memorize the golden rule. The iron rule is never do for someone else what they can do for themselves. Now, I know y'all saying now, Pastor Jay, come on, take me down this thing. Look, I want to show you a little video. It comes from an association I'm connected with called the Christian Community Development Association, which kind of maps out this idea. And then we're going to get into the scriptures, and I got some SSV that's going to really back me up today. Y'all ready? All right, let's watch this video really quickly, and I'll be back in a second.
When we look at a community with needs, they can be overwhelming. Poverty in the United States is very complex. A good grant writer can demonstrate the need. The newsletters we receive, why we need more of God's presence in the community because the needs have not been addressed.
And I think that has been the problem with much of the well-intended and well-meaning efforts at charity among people in low-resource communities. We talk about what they don't have.
You feed a man a fish. That activity is a betterment activity for an individual.
I think to a certain extent in the church we've begun to idolize service, and we're all trying to outserve one another and be the greatest servant.
Over time, those caring volunteers begin to say, aren't these the same folks that have been coming here for years? They start raising the question, is this really helping?
And if we think it's about all too many needs and not enough assets, then we personally become disempowered because then we feel like we're doing something wrong.
And then some attitudes start creeping in, like the least they could do is pick up after themselves.
My favorite story is the story of Jesus with the woman at the well, and it starts off with him asking her for water. He was genuinely thirsty and needed something from her, and from there he was able to give her living water.
Everyone is created in the image of God, and because that is true, everyone has capacity.
If we can help people to recognize their giftedness, that they are gifted, that they are fearfully and wonderfully made, then we have started the process of empowerment.
We certainly can use partners, and we certainly can use resources from the outside, but we have to imagine and build upon the assets that already exist in the community.
And so you say, we have to move this into a development activity, which is a loan to buy the lake.
And as people are developing, they become very creative. And as they have success, it bolsters their confidence, and success breeds success.
A lot of what we found at this development corporation was that some of the tenants that lived in our affordable housing who cared about the issues were great community organizers. You know, others who were interested in why housing was crumbling in the neighborhood turned into great housing developers because it was a passion that they had in their gut. They just needed someone who would invest some time in helping them to know what they needed to learn and to learn it.
It's not that we want people to give us stuff, because it's not the giving part, because we're going to make it happen. We just need the support and the help and the trust.
In our quest to want to serve everybody, we don't want to look at our own vulnerability, our own needs, and we miss what maybe poor neighbors have to give to us and what we could receive from them.
When we talk about empowerment, we're talking about helping people acquire the skills and the resources that they need to be self-sufficient.
So the premise of the video is just simply to say is that when we talk about wanting to be the hands and feet of Jesus, we have to recognize that Jesus' hands and feet were not about doing things for people. Jesus' hands and feet were about creating an environment in which people could do for themselves. Now, stay with me a little bit. We almost get into the good part. There are a couple things we got to worry about. This empowerment idea is based on interdependence. And interdependence is a huge thing because we are a country of independence, right? We believe that you get, my boy Tupac said it like this, I got to get yours. I got to get mine, you got to get yours. Right? That's the mindset. Like, I came to college, I'm going to get my degree, I'm going to do what I got to do, make my money, you make it happen for you. But Jeremiah 29, when I talked about exile when I came last time, is just this notion that no, that's not the truth. My success or my failure is actually tied up in your success or your failure. It's not about whether I succeed or you fail. It says if I succeed, it makes a better opportunity for us all to succeed. And if one of us fails, we all fail. So I want to read this quote by Bob Lupton, who was the guy that was talking about the fish deal. And I want you to pay attention to it and tell me what you hear. Watch this. So empowerment is a popular word these days. It may be a misnomer. People, just like butterflies, have an inbred capacity to emerge into creatures of unique beauty. But intervene in the chrysalis process when the caterpillar is undergoing its transformation and the process may be aborted. Assist the emerging butterfly as it struggles to break out of its cocoon, and it may never develop the strength to fly. We may protect the cocoon from predators, even shield it from winter's hostile blast, but do more than create the conditions for the timely emergence, and we will cause damage. Butterflies, like people, cannot be empowered. They will emerge toward their uniquely created potential given a conducive environment. Think about it. We can't force, we can't pray hard enough to make the caterpillar become the butterfly. There is a process that they have to go through. The inbred capacity for that transformation to happen is already in the insect. We could put the cocoon inside of a little glass case and keep the wind away. All we can do is create an environment to where what they were naturally created to do, they can do it better. This is the same thing in the same way we must recognize what we must do as the people of God. This is what is happening here at Bethel for you. They are creating an environment where your naturally inbred gifts coming from the God above can be nurtured and you can do what God has created you to do. They can't wake you up in the morning to get you to your 8 o'clock class. You got to get up. Right? I know I get some staff amens. I ain't got an amen me. That's all right. Right? It is that idea that you already have the capacity. That's why you're here. It's in you. You already intelligent. You don't need that piece of paper to tell you that. You're here because they believe you already have the capacity and they want to support you in your growth. If that is the notion here, that is also the notion when we step outside of the Bethel bubble. Now, In the Old Testament, empowerment is an important aspect. In Deuteronomy 24 and Leviticus 19, God sets up what's called the gleaning system. The gleaning system, farmers harvested their crops, but were only allowed to go through the field one time. After they went through the field, what was left behind or dropped on the ground was available for the widow, the alien, for all the poor people to come behind them and harvest for themselves. This program empowered people. It wasn't a food pantry which said, stand in line, and I'm going to hand you what I have. No, it said, it works on both sides. Watch this. The field belonged to the farmer. It's their field, but they cannot pick everything in it. Can you imagine the notion that even if I make a six-figure salary, it is not my right to take everything I have for myself? It is actually important. It is a command that I leave some behind. And I don't just leave it behind, or I don't get to pick through the good stuff and leave the bad. But really, I am saying that I am going to make sure there's enough for everyone, and I'm not giving it to you. You got to get out here and pick it yourself. It's an empowerment activity that was created by God. 3 principles came out of God's welfare system in the Old Testament. First of all, it is the notion that everyone has ability. Everyone has ability. When you walk past a homeless person, they have more than the ability to shake their cup at you. The question is, what do you believe about those you come in contact with? What will you believe about those in third world countries in which you may be called to the mission field for? Will you believe that everyone has ability, or will you believe that you're coming there to do it for them? Will you believe that everyone wants authority? Everybody wants to be in charge every once in a while. Okay? Nobody always wants to be the follower. Nobody always wants to be told what to do. Sometimes there is an area of your life that you're actually better than someone else at, and you're like, man, I should be the leader now. You know, have you ever played the game? It's a great game I play with youth. It's actually a game called Headbands. I think there's one that's an iPhone app where you put it up over your head, and you got to guess what the person is above their head. Okay? So I play this game with kids, and often I'll put stuff like smart or leader or stupid. And the way you play the game is that you have to treat the person the way the label is on their forehead. It is one of the cruelest games you will ever see young people play because they are so good at it. One says, laugh at me. So every time the person opens their mouth, they just go, just laugh at them like the gut laugh, you know? And what it does is it reminds us that every once in a while, not even every once in a while, all the time, we all put labels on people. We see someone and we put a label on them. And what we have to do is we have to build a relationship with them so that we can get the label removed, because it is a human nature thing to put labels on people, unfortunately. But it is that idea that even the person that has a leader on their head, it doesn't mean that they should always be the leader. Sometimes that there are other things that people are gifted at that should cause them to have authority. I'm going to show you that Jesus shows this to us later. But every once in a while, everyone wants authority. So when the people come through the gleaning field and they're picking up their own stuff, they're in charge of what they pick up. Nobody's telling them what they can have. The third thing is everyone needs accountability. All right? Even the people that owned the field, even the farmers that owned the field had accountability. Don't go to the corners. Don't get everything in there. Don't be so stingy. Oh, this is mine. I'm going to get every last drop. This is my challenge to you. When you get out of Bethel and you're making that big bucks, and when you're making those big bucks, please remember Canaan Community Church in Chicago, Illinois, Pastor Jonathan E.L. Brooks always looking for people who want to be donors. Anyway, that will you take it to the very corner? Will you get every little corner? Will you take every little bit of your income, every little bit of your net wealth? Will you have everything because it's yours? Another author, Bob Linthicum, says in his book, Building a People of Power, no one can empower another person. The only person who can empower Someone else is him or herself. The only group that can empower a community is the community itself. The task of the church is to join the empowerment of the community, to participate in it, to be an integral part of it, and perhaps even to help make it happen. Now we're about to get into some SSV. Exodus chapter 2, one of my favorite stories in the Bible, is the story of Moses. Now, at her mother's request, Moses' mother's name is Yocheved, Miriam, Moses' sister, hides her brother in a basket, floats him down the side of a river to evade the Pharaoh's order to kill all the little boys. So we know this story. I love this story because it reminds me of what people in my neighborhood do. Okay? So you got Miriam taking little Moses, putting him in the basket, floating him down the river, and then hiding in the bushes and stuff to see where he goes. Okay? She sees that Moses washes up on the shore, and now the Pharaoh's daughter discovers him. She falls in love with him and decides she wants to keep him. This is what people with empowered capabilities do. Miriam says, "Oh, snap." We in there like swimwear now. She goes, right? She goes over. I'm in SSV, just in case you forgot. Right? She comes over, and she says, "Hey, you know that's a Hebrew baby." And the Pharaoh's daughter goes, "Yeah, I kind of noticed. They dress a little different. I don't really." She's like, "You know you don't know how to take care of that baby." And she was like, "You know, you're actually right. Do they eat the same stuff? You know? I don't really know how to comb his hair. I don't know how to braid it." And she says, "I got an idea for you. Check this out. I know this lady, Hebrew lady, who really, she kind of takes care of kids for people. Why don't I run and get her? She can be your nurse, and all throughout the day while you're doing your Pharaoh daughter stuff, she can take care of the baby, and then she'll bring her back to you at night. You know, because you don't know how to do this. Why don't you just like have a caretaker?" And she was like, "That's a great idea. Why don't you go get her?" Miriam's like, "I'll be back." She runs to go get her mama. "Mama, you'll never guess what happened. Pharaoh's daughter is adopting Moses." She's like, "What? How'd that happen?" "Look, trust me. Here's the plan. I told her to hire you to take care of your own son." Yocheved was like, "That is genius. It's brilliant." She's like, "Okay, what do I do?" She's like, "Come on, let's go sign the papers." She comes back and she says, "I'll be here every day to take care of him. Thank you so much. God bless. This is a great opportunity, and I'm glad I can help you out." She goes back home, and she's like, "Miriam, you are a genius." They high-five each other. And she says, "You know what, Mama? You're the first welfare mother. You getting paid to take care of your own child." I mean, look at this. This is incredible. This is what happened when you allow people to use their inbred capacity, their naturally empowered selves, the fact that they are presently powerful people. Now, this may not be the way you would have done it, but the job got done. Y'all remember my story when I came last time about the guys and the guy speeding up and down the street? Did I tell that story? The guys decided to catch him by the stop sign and rocked his car and flipped it over. And I was like, "Oh my God, that's not the way I would have handled that situation." But I feel safe over here. My daughters can play outside anytime because I know ain't nobody going to be flying up and down the street. This is the idea. The idea is this, is that Moses' mom, Moses' sister were presently powerful people. They may not do it the way we do it, but when you are created in the image of God, you have the ability to do things that people may not think you can do. We always look at people like Miriam, people like Yocheved, and say, "Oh God, why would she get paid to take care of her own child?" Because it was the best scenario for her present situation. It was the best scenario. This is what it means for empowerment to happen. I mean, look at this. Jesus' final statements in Matthew 28, 19 and 20. He says, now go ye therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you, and surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. I want you to notice what Jesus is doing. I want you to notice that Jesus recognizes that his own disciples are an empowered people, gifted with the presence of God, and soon to be gifted with even more power through the power of the Holy Spirit. And he says to them, look, go and make disciples. You already have the ability. I've been with you for these last 3 years. You have watched me. You have walked with me. You have the ability to make disciples. I don't have to be here anymore. I don't have to be the disciple maker anymore. You have the ability to do it. Now go and make disciples. He tells them, you have the ability. And after he says, go and make disciples, then he says, look. Baptize them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teach them to obey everything I have commanded you. He says, look, not only do you have ability, but I'm giving you authority. You are in charge now. You go and tell them everything that I commanded you. Now people will listen to you. There will be books of the Bible written by you. People will read Peter's words. People will read Paul's words. They will start saying, these guys have authority and are telling me how I should live my life, because they're just saying what Jesus told them. Do you recognize how empowerment works? He says, you have the ability. Now I give you authority. Here's what it takes. After he says, I give you authority, he closes out. And guess what? I will be with you even until the end of the age. I'll never leave you. So after he tells them that they have the ability, after he gives them some authority, he says, and I'll also provide accountability. I'll be there for when you screw up. Bethel. It is gospel. It is kingdom-minded to recognize not only the innate power that you have, but the amazing ability that God has given you to just walk alongside people. So there are people right here on your campus. You're struggling with this God thing. Don't know how they got here. Like they never been, church wasn't their thing, and here they are at a school talking about Christ at the helm. What is a helm? Trying to figure this thing out. And will you become such a servant that you'll start doing things for them? Or will you have the patience to walk alongside of them while the innate power that they have, they may not do things the way you would have done it. Their journey to the Lord, to their calling in their lives may not look like yours. But will you have the patience to walk alongside them and allow them to use their ability, to use their jump shot, to use their running skills, to use their academics, to use the things that God has given them to bring them closer to him, to fix the issues in their own lives? I don't want you to grow up and become missionaries who think that you're going to change the world. I want you to grow up and become missionaries who want to be a part of the world's changing. Say it one more time. I don't want you to grow up and be missionaries or Christians. And when I say missionary, I don't mean you traveling all over the world. If you're going to be a banker, you're going to be a missionary to some of the most needy folks in the world. We all have a mission field. I want you to grow up and be missionaries who recognize that transformation happens from inside out, not outside in. You don't come in and change anyone. You may have eloquent speech. You may have all the ways that people should look. But sometimes you just got to be patient and allow transformation to happen. I'm going to close with one final story told by a friend of mine. So she was a part of a group that went to South America every year to work with some indigenous people in South America. And they went there as missionaries, and their goal was to go down there and just kind of be with the people and listen to them and allow them whatever they wanted to be done to happen. And they would try to be a part of whatever those people wanted. So they get down there, and they go to the elders of this village, and they say, hey, we're just here for a little while. We don't want to act like we know everything. We just want to spend some time with you guys, and you tell us, after you've spoken to your own people, what it is that you need. So they come back to him a couple days later, and they come to him, and they say, you know what? We've talked to our people, and they want a soccer field. The whole time the missionaries have been there, they've been noticing that groups of mothers would just be weeping in the corner, weeping at every event they were at, weeping at every home. It happened, seemed like every day. And so they went to the mothers like, what's going on? And the mothers were like, we keep losing our babies. Our babies are dying. And they're like, well, why do you think they're dying? They're like, we don't know what it is. Well, they started to do some deduction, and they went around and looked, and they saw that it was really the water supply. That someone had come down and built a plumbing system for them, but it had gotten, over time, it was messing up, and it was backing their waste up into their drinking water. Simple fix. We just need to fix the thing and repair it. But they had made the decision that when they came down there, they weren't going to tell the elders and the people of the village what to do. They were going to listen. And so the elders tell them, we want a soccer field. Everybody here loves soccer. Build us a big soccer field. It will bring our community together. That's what we need. So they say, okay. Even though all these mothers are like, okay, let's build this soccer field. And they're building a soccer field. They build a soccer field. And now it's opening up, and they're having their first event. And they look at them, and they say, hey, why are all the women crying at every event we have? The elders ask. And they look at them and they say, we can tell you why. It's because their children are dying, the water is being polluted, we need to do something about it. And the elders go, oh, well, let's fix that. Do you guys know how to fix it? And they say, yes, we know how to fix it. And so they fix it, and the water is reversed, and everything's okay, and now they're able to save more children, and nothing happens. But here's the hard part. They still had to build soccer fields while children were dying. See, sometimes that's what we have to do. We think that we have the answer to the problem, but sometimes it's not our turn to fix the problem. Sometimes you have to build soccer fields while children are dying. So Bethel, will you have the patience, the trust in God, the belief in the image of God and the presently powerful people to say, it may not be the way I would have done it, but I will trust in God's process. Everyone, sometimes when you know there are presently powerful people, you have to build soccer fields, even though babies are dying. That's empowerment. As you leave today, remember you're an empowered people. Pray hard and trust God. I hope to see you all tonight at 8 o'clock. May God continue to bless you.